Hello, my name is Caroline Balliet, and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Lycoming County. I am representing the League today as one of the co-hosts of the Reimagining Sustainability at Ways Garden event. This event is open to the public and was funded through the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania's Reimagine Sustainability Grant. Our group was awarded funds to inform the public of environmentally sustainable practices while working in partnership with local organizations. We are being joined today by students from the Penn College Horticultural Department, members of the Montoursville Key Club, the Lycoming Audubon Society, and the Penn State Master Gardeners. Ways Garden Commissioner Carl Bauer Jr., who is employed as a horticultural instructor from Penn College, is leading the planting of native plants. In addition to assisting with the planting, the partner organizations are manning informational tables related to sustainability. I hope you enjoy the information presented today.
Hi, I'm Carl Bauer. I'm one of the commissioners here at Ways Garden, and I just want to tell you a little bit about the history of the park and kind of what we're doing today. The park was a gift from J. Roman Way in 1913. J. Roman Way was one of the millionaire industrialists that lived on West 4th Street, and actually he lived right across the street at the Tabor Museum, or where the Tabor Museum is located. And on the site of Ways Garden was there was a house owned by John White, and it was called White's Castle because it looked a lot like a castle. And so when Mr. White passed, there was questions as what's going to happen with the property, and there was talk about it's going to become a boarding house, and Mr. White did not want that, so he bought this property, dismantled the castle, and he employed a landscape architect to design a park, and with the idea he was going to give that to the city, and it was supposed to be a place of beauty, quiet reflection, and so 2013 was 100 years, and we started to do some they wanted to do a renovation for the 100th year anniversary of it, and I didn't get involved until 2016 as a commissioner, but we've been working on adding things since 2013, so such as the pavilion you see, the pergola, the fountain, new sidewalks, a pavilion, and just a lot more new plantings we've been adding. And so my relationship with the Audubon Society started like 3 years ago, and they came to me and wanted to introduce some more native plants into the garden, and as part of their bird-friendly blooms program. And so I said, well, I didn't want to see everything go native, and there's a lot of non-native plants in here because this was built in the Victorian times, and they were all about opulence and trying new things from foreign lands. But I said, well, we can add some native plants, and actually for the past couple years, that's pretty much all we've been adding. I've been kind of making that my mission to show how native plants can be used, maybe a little more formally. Native plants have a reputation of being wild and rangy and not real formal, but one of the things I tell my students, and I teach horticulture, is that it's not the function of the plant to be formal, it's the function of the design. So as we've been designing things, or as I've been designing and adding things, I've been trying to keep that in mind, that it's not the plants that are informal or formal, it's how they're designed. So I'm trying to kind of give that more of a formal look with these native plants in the garden.
What we have here is a sampling of the native plants that grow in Pennsylvania that you could put in your garden. So they're all, I shouldn't say they're all easy to grow. Most of them are easy to grow. This white one right here is called snakeroot. That's obviously blooming right now. And it is pollinator friendly. They like it a whole lot. This is sea oats. that doesn't get a flower, so the pollinators aren't crazy about it. But it's a really pretty additive, a nice native grass to add to your garden, rather than some of the other sorts of things. This is called Rattlesnake Master. Pollinators love this. The flower looks like this, but in between all of that there are tiny white petals when it blooms, and it blooms probably around, I guess, August. So that's what's in this pot. This is wild ginger, and I love wild ginger because it doesn't spread really fast, and when it blooms down near the ground, and it gets this deep maroon color cup flower. It's really neat. You can't eat it. It's not an edible ginger or anything, but it's really pretty. It's a nice shade plant. This one is a beauty berry. I picked this yesterday, and it's not happy that I picked it, so its leaves are a little crinkly. But this is a native of Pennsylvania, and I think it's beautiful. That color on here of these berries is gorgeous. The flowers also get a little lighter shade of this purple, and the pollinators like that as well. This is one of the pollinators' favorites. This is called Clustered Mountain Mint, and I wish you could smell it because it has a very unique smell. It belongs to the mint family, yes, but it doesn't spread like, say, spearmint or peppermint. It can get busy, so you have to stay on top of it, but the pollinators love it. In fact, when Penn State did a study on what plants pollinators liked best, this was always in number 1 or number 2. And when it's blooming, the pollinators, it looks like the top of my plants are alive. There's so many. The flower is, again, like Rattlesnake Master. It gets a tiny white flower, but that blooms in July and August. This guy is called Sweetspire. It doesn't get very tall. It's a woody shrub. It gets about 3 feet tall, maybe 2 or 3 feet tall, and it gets a white flower on it. And I like the foliage in fall. I think it's pretty. This little guy is a native sedum. It's called stone crop. It doesn't spread very fast, but it's a really pretty. It gets a really pretty flower on it in the early summer. This is wild bleeding heart, and this will bloom all summer long if it's in the shade. It likes shade. Same with the sedum. Stone crop. It likes shade. But this will bloom all summer long, and it doesn't spread a whole lot. It's one of my favorites. This is called ironweed. I love the color of this. This blooms at this time of year, and it also doesn't spread. You see this in the wild quite a lot, but it doesn't spread a whole lot. This frilly one is yarrow, and you'll see this in the wild a lot. It will spread, so you might have, if you plant it, you might have to rein it in sometimes. This branch is from a plant called a pepper bush, or summer sweet, and this is what's left of the flowers. It gets a kind of a long, droopy kind of flower on a cluster of flowers. This one is a pollinator favorite as well. This is a good substitute instead of butterfly bush. I think that's all. Oh no, this one. Forgot this one. This is a button bush. This is a shrub too. It doesn't get very tall, and it has, the flowers are tiny and white. Again, the pollinators love it. This is another pot. These are asters. This is a pink New England aster and a purple New England aster. They do get assertive, so you have to rein them in too. But they're very pretty, and the pollinators love that too. This is a monarda, a bee balm. This is salvia. Pollinators like that. This is a false indigo. The Latin name is Baptista. It gets a deep purple flower in the spring. These are seed pods from that. This is a spiderwort. In the South, I learned that from my sister-in-law. They call it widow's tears down here, but it's a native. This is a wild geranium. It gets a pretty lavendery pink flower on it. It's still blooming. There's still flowers that it must have fallen off. This one is squirrel corn. It looks an awful lot like Dutchman breeches, if you're familiar with that. It gets a flower in the spring that looks like it's upside down bloomers. But there's a slight difference between squirrel corn and Dutchman breeches, but this is squirrel corn. So all of these you can put in your garden, and instead of things that you have, the stuff that has double blooms or has been too hybridized for the pollinators to be able to use, these will work in your garden as well and look just as beautiful. So that's that.
Hi, we are from Lycoming Audubon Society, and we are here today to talk about sustainability in regards to birds. All of this kind of fits together, the native plants and the trees and everything. Our birds are rapidly declining even as we speak. They are threatened by such things as climate change and habitat invasion and pesticides and all sorts of things. Since I was a child, which was a long time ago, and maybe in the 70s, we've lost over 3 billion birds. And so, they're a beautiful part of the environment. They are also a very important part of the ecosystem, and we need to do more to protect them. And there's a lot that we as citizens and just ordinary people can do to help our birds, and that's why we're here to promote that today.
The birds we picked to put out today are all birds that you can find locally. All of the models are to scale, so these are the size that you would be seeing them in the wild. From our tiniest owl, which is actually, that's the size of an owl we have in Pennsylvania called the northern saw-whet owl, up through to the size of a blue jay. So these are all birds that you can find mostly year-round in Pennsylvania. So things to watch for. We're also part of the Birdie Dozen. So the sustainability of what native plants you can add to your backyard to pull more birds in and make sure that they have what they need to be living these days.
We said these birds are mostly all here all year, but there are a lot of birds that are here just in the summer, and they're getting ready or have already left to fly maybe as far as South America, but they will use your feeders to help to sustain them and build up their strength before they go on their flight. These birds that are here all winter are going to need help with seeds and suet and so forth, so you can do that. You can help support them by having a bird feeder, which is a great way to see them up close too, watch them and have fun and learn more about them.
So what's in your garden? Have you added any vegetables, edible flowers? Really try a lot of different things. We're reinventing the victory garden of the past, and we're finding fresh fruits and vegetables. We're going to be lowering our grocery costs. We're promoting food security and maintaining a healthy diet. All that with putting everything in the garden. We're also confusing all of those bad bugs because we're not planting rows of cabbage, rows of eggplants, and attracting the flea beetles and the cabbage worms. We're confusing them by putting them with all different flowers and all different vegetables, creating not only beauty but also bounty. So start your edible landscaping today.
Our table is about, we're with Lycoming Audubon, and we support the birds, but we also support the native plants that feed the birds in the spring. They use the native plants to feed their babies, so we think that planting native plants is very important to support the birds. So our table here today is about native trees. We have native tree giveaway, and then we also have bird friendly bloom cards. And these cards have selections that you can choose of different kind of plants you can put in your garden, because the more you can put into your garden that is native, the more wildlife will be supported. Some people, they know all about milkweed, but there's a lot more plants that you can plant in your garden to support the insects and support the birds that need those insects.
And this little kind of nub here, this is the grafting or the budding union. So this right here is the original tree, and then this was grafted. It was budded, which is a type of grafting. And so now this is the desired, or this is the tree that we have, but this is the root stock. And so you need to find that first root flare, which is right down there. So all this soil, unfortunately, has to come off, okay? And one of these roots, if you notice, this root starts way over here, and is wrapped around, and this is going to become a girdling root. And so as this grows, that's going to get bigger and bigger and thicker, and it's just like putting this tree in a headlock. And it's going to essentially suffocate the tree. And you'll see, if we left this there and planted it, that this side of the tree, where that root flare is, it would cause that side of the tree to be much weaker. So that needs to come off. So we need to cut that out of there. And then all this excess soil. And this is the thing with so many containerized plants, this is what happens. Because when they get these trees in and they're bare root, they've got a lot of weight to the top and very little roots. They put them in a pot and they start putting soil in, and they end up putting a lot more excess soil to kind of hold that tree in place. So once the tree's in there, it's not flopping all around. And I think the nursery growers are saying, oh, the landscapers, they can clean this off and do it, but they often don't. And homeowners, they don't realize that. And even this root right here is kind of growing up. Now it's growing because it had all that nice soil to grow in. All this stuff that kind of looks like rice, that's actually what it is. The rice hulls, they use that for weed prevention. So we're actually going to scrape a whole lot of that off. Let's take a little bit of that loose stuff out of the hole there, guys. Just a little bit. I want to make sure this has a good firm foundation to it. You don't want the tree settling over time. And we want that tree to be the hole to be 1 to 2 times, 1.5 to 3 times wider than the ball itself. So you have some nice loose soil to grow into. Yeah, it seems so counterproductive to get rid of all these roots, but all these roots that are growing kind of on top of the ball are just going to form this tight mat and eventually just kind of choke this tree out. We did scrape a lot of the roots that were circling around the ball just by using kind of your pruners. There's still some areas here that need to be kind of scored up. Okay, but now we got some nice roots that are working their way out. And here's another root that, if you notice here, is growing sideways. See this root growing sideways instead of growing out. As that grows, you imagine that root getting 3 times the size and the trunk getting bigger. They're going to start touching each other and causing an issue. So I'm going to take this out. We're planting this here in October. This is the best time to plant trees. Even though the leaves are off, as long as the ground's not frozen, they'll still continue to produce roots. There's another one here that's growing sideways. So even though we're taking a lot of these roots off, a lot of this will recover this fall. So, all right. I like the look of that a lot better. All right. So just kind of flatten that hole out a little bit at the bottom. And then we do want to untie it now. It's nothing worse than getting it in the hole and realizing you never untied it, and then you're not tall enough to get the string off. This is a sweet gum. It's a native tree. Has great red fall color. It's really cool palmately compound leaves. I'm going to take this bamboo off here because these stars are really tight on there. Watch your head there, Brandon. It's just ready. It could go. Actually, that could go a little. Let's put it up just a little bit. So if you just leave it right in there. So I'll throw a little more soil in there. I don't want it too deep. So make sure we kind of pack it in. Stop that down. Good. Lift it back up on the other side. Look straight there. Right there. All right. So we got all this new loose soil in here. We're going to put in here, and hopefully those roots will grab a hold of that. If you go look at any other bigger, mature trees in the garden, you'll see that root flare. You see a tree that's not doing real well, and you'll see that it has no root flare or maybe way too much mulch around it. It looks like a telephone pole going into the ground. That's probably a tree that's not going to be the healthiest because it's planted too deep. We'll rake all this stuff up, kind of do a nice edge, and we'll put some mulch on it and kind of see what that looks like once it's all mulched and pretty. Again, putting the mulch around it, you want to make sure that you're not burying any of the trunk as well. So sure it's formed in here. Kind of a hole right there. I'm just going to let that grass will grow through that. There's not enough soil to yeah, and this is where again you don't want the mulch up onto the to the trunk, but getting a good 2 to 3 inch layer on top of the soil. Kind of have it tapered down at the trunk. Keep some moisture in this. Okay, there you go. Looks good. Thank you.
We started our day with rain. It wasn't the best hair day, but it was a really good day to make a difference in the Williamsport community. Thank you to everyone that participated, for sharing your knowledge, sharing your work, and everything that you do. Thank you. We appreciate you.